Good afternoon, day 3 of session. Thank you all for being here. It's really nice to see everyone. We really have so many places represented here right now. It's so cool. Thank you to Kosei for offering a talk yesterday. It was really nice to hear your voice in that way. So I guess some of us were here for opening council, and during the opening session, opening council, we set a dedication, not just for the council, but for the whole session. So we set a dedication for the session, which was mistakes. Committing, accepting, and working with mistakes. And it's a really great dedication, not just for the session, but for our lives. It's a constant practice looking at mistakes. And so I thought for the rest of the session, I would kind of give a series of talks on mistakes, because not so coincidentally, that concept kind of shows up a lot in koans and other writings. It's a big part of our life. It's a big part of practice. It's a big part of Sangha. A big part of practicing the Dharma. So to start off, let's just look at the word mistake. To mistake something. To take something in the wrong way. Whether that thing is an idea or an action or a question, to mistake it. And I really like looking at it this way because from a Zen standpoint, from a Buddhist standpoint, maybe some of you remember in the summer I gave a series of talks on the Diamond Sutra, and one of the major components and themes of the Diamond Sutra that we looked at was non-abiding, not staying anywhere, not getting stuck on anything. It's another really nice expression for not knowing. And in the place of true non-abiding, everything is a mistake. The minute you take anything for anything, it is missed. Because every moment is completely fresh, born and dying anew every moment. And I think, there's some half-jokey Zen sayings, I think, where it's like there's 10,000 moments in a second. So if every moment things are dying and being reborn and changing completely, then to take anything at all is to miss it. And that is non-abiding. So whether we're studying a koan, or the Dharma, or doing zazen, or communicating with our partners or loved ones, or working in the garden, if we get stuck on any one thing, it's a mistake. I'm mistuck. Just kidding. I'm reminded of David Hume, the philosopher, whose whole thing was like, we can't really know that the sun's gonna come up tomorrow. We've seen it happen over and over again. We've seen the earth spin in a certain way, but we can't really know. We can make a really educated guess. I don't know how relevant that is, but it just kind of reminds me of that place of not knowing, of not abiding anywhere. And as soon as we do, it's a mistake. I'm reminded of a verse. So, we do these koans, and in most of the books, I think in all three, there are verses for every koan. And some teachers like to work on the verse as well. And there's this one in the Muman Kan that says something along the lines of walking along the edge of a sword, running on a narrow ridge of a glacier, no ladders, nowhere to grasp, freely falling, or something like that. That's not the actual verse, but something like that. And that's what we're doing. That's what our life is. Walking on the edge of the sword, so sharp, so narrow. And the minute we get stuck on anything, we misstep and make mistakes. And I think the beautiful part of a verse like that is that the message isn't we're always fucked. The message is we're always free. To really walk on that sword, to run on the slippery glacier with no ladders and nowhere to grasp, to really feel that in my bones is freedom. Freedom to make as many mistakes as I can. Freedom to learn and grow from them. The freedom to live and die, moment by moment. Sesshin is a really unique opportunity to peer at that sword's edge. So thank you all for joining us in that walk. So the first koan about mistakes is from the Blue Cliff Record, case 31. So, Meiyoku came to Shoke with his ringed staff in hand, circled the meditation seat thrice, planted his staff with a flourish, and stood tall. Shoke said, "Right, right." Secho commented, "Mistake." Meiyoku then went to Nansen, and again circled his meditation seat thrice, planted his staff with a flourish, and stood tall. Nansen said, "Wrong, wrong." Secho commented, "Mistake." Meiyoku then said, "Shoke said right. Why do you say wrong?" Nansen said, "Shoke himself is right. It's you that is wrong. This is whirled about by the wind and eventually disintegrates." So Meiyoku is a monk, a mendicant monk, a wandering practitioner, and we assume he could be a teacher, he could be just a solo monk doing his thing, but he's going around, as many people did back then, just kind of testing his understanding with various teachers. So he goes to Shoke. Shoke shows up a lot in these koans. He's kind of like a famous dude. So he goes to Shoke with his ringed staff. And I bet that ring staff has a significance. I'm not quite sure. Like Jizo had a ring staff, yeah. Keep the snakes away. Interesting. So yeah, so either everybody traveling had a staff. You also get a staff when you get transmission, different kinds of staffs and different lineages. Besides the point, he's got a staff. So he goes to Shoke, he walks into, the Dokusan room, or maybe just the Zendo, or somewhere in the temple, and he meets with Shoke, and he circles the meditation seat thrice. I love that word. So this circumambulation 3 times kind of shows up a lot. The Buddha, when he was born, with the immaculate C-section just kind of popping out of his mother's side. He walked around his mother 3 times and then said his famous, "I alone am the world honored one." So it's kind of, just that circling is kind of an expression of holiness. This is enlightenment. This is Buddha. Then he plants his staff on the ground with a flourish and stood tall, right? So this is Meioku, without using any words, expressing his Dharma. Just this, just me and my staff is Buddha, just as I am. That's what the books tell me, that's what the teachers say in the Dharma talks, so must be right. Shoke says, right. So how does that make us feel when we express something, when we try something, when we go out on a limb, when we work for something and someone says, right, very good? How does that make me feel? Very important question. So then Secho, who is purportedly the, curator of the Blue Cliff record, I believe, he kind of comes in italics from afar to offer his little commentary. So he's not actually in this story. He's offering narration for us in italics. So Meioku does this little dance. Shoku says, very good. And Secho comments, mistake. So whose mistake is it? How does that make me feel? Mistake. It's a mistake to make such an obvious gesture. It's a mistake not to make such an obvious gesture. Maybe it's a mistake to approve that. Shoke says right, and Secho says, oh boy, you should not approve this guy. That's a mistake. So then Meioku goes to another teacher, Nansen, another famous guy. And again, he does the same thing. He circles 3 times. Just this is holy. Plants his staff. Boom. This. Stood tall, confident. Just this is it. Nansen says, wrong. And Secho comments, mistake. So, these koans are designed to drive us crazy. So you're doing koans and they're driving you crazy, then good, that means it's working. He does the same thing. First guy says that's right. Second guy says it's wrong. And CHowa says that both right and wrong are both mistakes. So feeling the staff on the ground, feeling the approval, feeling the disapproval, and feeling that both are mistakes is kind of the point here. And to manifest in your life what it is to be right and to be wrong. Where do I attach to either of those? To say it's right, you've fallen off the sword's edge. To say it's wrong, you've fallen off the sword's edge. To even go looking for approval, right or wrong, you've already fallen off the sword's edge. Now, CHowa's mistake, is that an admonition? Is that a criticism? If someone tells you you've made a mistake, how does that make you feel? How do you respond to that? In a place of not knowing and total intimacy with just this moment, right and wrong are completely irrelevant. So, yeah, so Nansen says, you're wrong, wrong, wrong. And Meioku kind of gets defensive, right? Here he is all confident with his staff and his standing tall until someone says, oh, God, no. Now all of a sudden he cowers. Wait, but Shoki says right. Why do you say I'm wrong? And Nansen said, Shoke himself is right. It's you that's wrong. Again, if you think this is about approval and disapproval, I think we're missing the point. Of course Shoke is right. So are you, right now. Perfectly right. If you sleep all the way through a Zazen period, totally right. If you yell at your coworker out of uncontrollable anger, totally right. And fall off the sword and get back on. So, yeah, of course he's right. It's you that's wrong. I'm obviously just going to repeat the same thing I just said and replace right with wrong. How can we be intimate with that place beyond right and wrong? I think that's a Rumi poem, isn't it? Famous Rumi poem. There's a place beyond right and wrong or good and evil or something like that. I'll meet you there. Where is that? I know that all of us here know where that is. And then he ends with this beautiful piece of medicine, I would say. Nansen, that is. He says, this is whirled about by the wind and eventually disintegrates. So, myself, my practice, my money, my love, my friends, my achievements, my rights, my wrongs, my mistakes, my merit, my sleepiness, my joy, my sorrow, my grief. It's fucking wind. All of this form is emptiness, whirled about and disintegrates, falls off the sword's edge every moment. So take great pleasure in your mistakes. And yeah, right in the heart of Sesshin, such a powerful chance to, like I said, walk on that slippery, narrow glacier ridge. And it's not easy. It's not easy. There's so many ladders that we want to grasp for. Thinking about what I'm going to eat next. Checking the phone for some good news. Try to stay with it. Experience that freedom of nowhere to step, nothing to be right, nothing to be wrong, everything a mistake. Total freedom. So yeah, let's go even deeper now.